Every once in a while, a show comes along that doesn't just entertain, it speaks directly to the parts of us we try to hide. Nobody Wants This is that kind of story. It peels back the layers of love, confusion, vulnerability, and human messiness, exposing the raw reality of relationships. It doesn't glamorize love, nor does it sugarcoat the chaos that comes when two imperfect people try to build something meaningful in a world full of expectations. Instead, it reflects back to us the uncomfortable truth: love is not perfect, and neither are we. At its core, the show teaches something simple but deeply human, that every person carries insecurities, fears, and scars. And that most relationships don't break because people don't love each other enough, but because they don't understand how to love each other correctly. Through emotional moments, awkward conversations, and quiet heartbreaks, the story reminds us that connection only grows when we stop trying to perform and start being honest about who we are. What makes Nobody Wants This so impactful is that it doesn't rely on fantasy. It mirrors the kind of relationships we all experience: the confusion, the miscommunication, the longing to be seen, and the fear of being too much or not enough. The show becomes a mirror, asking us to look at how we treat others, how we treat ourselves, and what it truly means to accept someone fully, not for what we want them to be, but for who they really are. 1. Love isn't always pretty, but it's real. The show teaches that love isn't always packaged neatly. It's messy, confusing, and sometimes frustrating. The characters stumble, overthink, and hesitate, just like real people do. Love doesn't follow a script, and the show refuses to pretend otherwise. It highlights how real love grows not in moments of perfection, but in flawed spaces, when someone stays, listens, or tries even when they feel scared or unsure. The imperfect moments reveal the strength of connection far more than the perfect ones. This reminds us that the relationships worth keeping aren't the ones that look good from the outside, but the ones where both people are willing to show their unfiltered selves, even the parts they fear might push the other away. 2. Accepting someone means accepting their past. Several characters carry emotional baggage, past mistakes, and old wounds. The show portrays how relationships often fail not because of the present, but because people are afraid of someone's history. But the story clarifies a truth: nobody starts as a blank page. It teaches that the past shapes people, but it doesn't define them. What matters is the willingness to understand rather than judge. Love becomes deeper when someone feels safe enough to open up about what they've survived. And in the end, acceptance becomes the greatest gift a person can receive, not the kind that erases the past, but the kind that says, "I see everything you've been through, and I'm still choosing you." 3. Communication is more important than romantic gestures. The show emphasizes that misunderstandings destroy relationships faster than anything else. Small assumptions, unspoken fears, and bottled-up emotions create cracks that slowly widen. Grand romantic gestures mean nothing if people don't communicate their needs honestly. The characters learn that saying, "I'm hurt, I'm scared," or "I need reassurance," is far more intimate than dramatic scenes of love. The lesson is simple but vital: silence is where love dies, but communication is where love grows into something unshakable. 4. Vulnerability builds deeper bonds. The show beautifully portrays how vulnerability is not a weakness but a doorway. When characters let their walls down, they begin to understand each other on a deeper level. Instead of hiding their fears, they slowly reveal the sides of themselves they're ashamed of, their doubts, insecurities, and emotional bruises. And it's in those moments that connection becomes real. The more someone trusts you with their fragile truth, the stronger the bond becomes. Vulnerability is the foundation of authentic love. 5. Love requires effort, not just emotion. Feelings may start a relationship, but effort sustains it. The show portrays how love cannot survive if one or both stop trying. Effort looks different for everyone: showing up on bad days, texting back, listening without defensiveness, or simply being there. It's the consistent little things that build trust. Love fades not because people stop caring but because they stop choosing each other daily. The show teaches that effort is an act of love that speaks louder than any words. 6. Acceptance is more romantic than perfection. Many characters initially try to act ideal, polished, or impressive. But the show makes it clear that relationships built on performance crumble. Real intimacy begins when people feel they can be flawed without fear of being abandoned. Acceptance becomes the true form of romantic devotion. The message is clear: choose the person who makes you feel safe being exactly who you are, not the person who forces you to pretend. 7. People don't need fixing, they need understanding. The show warns against trying to fix someone you love. That mindset creates pressure and unrealistic expectations. Instead, the story encourages understanding, seeing someone struggle without trying to rewrite their personality or emotions. When people stop trying to fix one another, relationships finally become peaceful and supportive instead of suffocating. 8. Love doesn't eliminate fear, it helps you face it. Fear of abandonment, fear of being unlovable, fear of losing someone, the show explores these deeply. Love doesn't magically remove those fears. Instead, it gives people the courage to confront them, knowing they're not alone. The presence of genuine companionship makes fear less intimidating, turning weaknesses into growth. 9. Boundaries strengthen relationships. The show teaches that boundaries aren't walls, they are bridges to healthier connection. Characters learn to communicate what hurts them, what they need, and what they can or can't tolerate. This clarity prevents resentment and emotional exhaustion. Boundaries are not unloving, they are acts of self-respect that make relationships more stable and secure. 10. Love thrives on mutual respect. The show stresses that love cannot exist where there is disrespect. Respect means listening without belittling, valuing emotional needs, and honoring the other person's individuality. When respect is present, love feels safe. When it's missing, love feels like a battle. The show leaves no confusion on this truth. 11. People need space to grow individually. Relationships suffocate when people lose their identity. The show demonstrates how personal growth enriches partnership. Characters evolve through their personal struggles, careers, friendships, and internal battles. Those changes positively affect their relationships. Love doesn't mean merging into one person, it means growing side by side. 12. Intimacy isn't just physical, it's emotional closeness. The show highlights intimacy as something far beyond physicality. True intimacy is when two people feel emotionally safe, when they can cry, confess, and break down without shame. Emotional intimacy creates a bond strong enough to survive distance, storms, and change. 13. Forgiveness is a skill, not a feeling. The show portrays how forgiveness doesn't come naturally, it requires conscious choice and emotional maturity. Characters make mistakes that hurt each other, yet the show focuses on the work behind repairing trust. Forgiveness becomes a form of love, the kind that rebuilds instead of giving up. 14. The right person makes you feel chosen, not settled for. One of the strongest lessons is the feeling of being genuinely chosen. The show contrasts relationships where someone is an option versus a priority. Being chosen means being valued, respected, and intentionally loved, not out of convenience, but out of heartfelt connection. The right person doesn't make you question your worth, they remind you of it every day through actions, effort, and tenderness. In the end, Nobody Wants This becomes more than a show, it becomes a guidebook for understanding the complicated, aching, beautiful reality of love. It teaches that people are imperfect, and relationships are challenging, but connection becomes meaningful when vulnerability and acceptance replace fear and performance. The story shows us that love doesn't require perfection, it requires honesty. It thrives not on flawless behavior, but on the willingness to show up, communicate, forgive, and grow. It whispers a message many of us forget, that love is not something you find, but something you build. And most importantly, the show leaves us with one unforgettable truth: real love doesn't demand you to be more or less than who you are. It asks only that you be real, be willing, and be present. Because in the end, the greatest kind of love is the one that chooses you, accepts you, and stays with you through every imperfect moment of being human.